Bonjour et je suis not manly et bienvenue à la cour de l'espace je ne sais quoi. And if you expect me to continue that in French, well, you can just stop the video right now. Hello, Not Manly here, and this is part 1 of a new series, the JNSQ Space Race. This is hosted by the Dressian Exploder on the KSP forums, where he has challenged us to accomplish 20 career milestones using Contract Configurator and Career Evolution in as little time as possible. Now here is the catch. We cannot just build rockets and put them on the launch pad and expect them to work. Oh no. We have to have Kerbal construction time installed, and as a result, construction actually takes a little longer. Anyway, our career objective: do the first 20 career evolution milestones in the fastest time and develop, for me anyway, a single stage to orbit craft for use on JNSQ Kerbin. Here are the rules: Kerbal Space Program 1.73, JNSQ, part pressure, and all that lovely stuff that I like to use. Again, we are using Kerbal construction time and uncrewed start, and as I always like to use, Ferrum Aerospace Research. I've got a few little bit add-ons on here. These are the other part add-ons that are required for the challenge. I'm setting the DSN modifier to 16 per recommendation for JNSQ. I've installed chronometer aboard so that we have 12-hour Kerbin days. And we've got some basic helper mods in here: transfer window planner, bon voyage for rovers when the time comes. And finally, I've got some visual add-ons for your eye candy. I've got high detail turned on, I've got environmental visual enhancements and scatterer installed, and distant object enhancement. Upon launching, we've got not just Gene Kerbin welcoming us, but Kerbal construction time welcoming us to spend our first few upgrade points. I'm going to start by using the default settings only. I'm sure that all the other competitors will be using this. I'm going to take a balanced approach to spending my upgrade points. I'm going to split most of these between the vehicle assembly building and the spaceplane hangar so that I can construct 2 craft at a time. It is possible to build aircraft in the vehicle assembly building, and it's possible to build rockets in the spaceplane hangar, so why not take advantage of that dual assembly functionality there? We're going to have a lot of time to wait for this, so let's split this off. Here you see me distributing my initial points. I actually don't know the difference between research time and development time. I'm hoping that I don't know what that 84600 BP is all about. I'll have to look that up later. Anyways, I've got my points spread out a little bit, and I've devoted a few points to R&D so that when I start collecting science, I can start using it right away. As usual for mission control, I tried to take some of the earliest contracts. However, because we've got some new ones here for career evolution, I'm just going to start with the very basic one: gather scientific data from Kerbin. I'll just stick an object on the launch pad, gather some quick science, and then I'll use my next 2 career slots to try to get the next one, which is our first launch, because they offer the first launch twice. The only science instrument I've got right now is the 2-hop thermometer, and the only object I can launch is the Stay Putnik probe core. So we're starting off with that, and when I go to launch, all I've got is I just add this thing to launch. Yep, sure enough, we gotta wait for this thing to actually build. Looks like it takes them 4 days to go and build themselves the Stay Putnik. As we fast forward, now this is JNSQ Kerbin Day, so this is 48 real-time hours here. Fortunately, we got time warp here, and we can quickly go through this. Anyway, warping to completion. And we can't even just stick it on the launch pad either, we gotta roll it out there. Fortunately, it only takes them like 12 seconds to pick up a piece of metal, carry it out to the launch pad, and just drop it out there. So, all we gotta do: log temperature, keep the data, and recover the vessel. It's that quick. And we had to wait 6 days for this. Go figure. We'll recover that quickly. We'll accomplish our first career milestone, and we'll accomplish our first story contract. gather scientific data from Kerbin. And since we've got some scientific data, we've got some science to spend. We're going to go with the basic structures here to start. We don't have much else we can do right now. We need just a little more science, but we can't just go out there and get it. We have to build things to go and get it. But now that we've got that one contract out of the way, we can grab our first milestone and our first stock story contract. Launch our first vessel, which is actually listed there twice. So, why not? Hey. And this is what contract configurator looks like. It's not too bad. We'll save these two for the next one. We don't want to lose any of the story contracts because they are going to make us the most money to start. We've only got one rocket, a tiny 0.625 meter solid rocket booster. If you think that's the hammer, you would be wrong. It is like 1/6 the size. And we don't have any structural parts yet to do anything else with this little rocket. All we can do is stick some science on there, maybe stick some antennas on there. Okay, there we go, the 2-hot thermometer. We still don't have any of the science instruments yet. I thought about sticking a couple of them on there. It's like, okay, we'd get 2 readings or something. Or get readings from one part of the atmosphere and reading from another part, or maybe readings from one biome and then another. So I go and I put the antenna on. But wouldn't you know it, I was silly and I forgot to put batteries on this darn little thing. At least I remembered to put some fins on. Now these little Stay Putnik probes do not have reaction wheels. In fact, reaction wheels won't be invented for a really long time. All we can really do is take these basic fins and tilt them just a little bit, and we can do what we call spin stabilization. Just enough to get the thing kind of spinning through the air, kind of like throwing a football, or like rifling a bullet or something, some way to keep this thing stable in flight, because we got no other way to do it. And I'm going to make another copy of this in the spaceplane hangar, like I said. So we just quickly switch over to the spaceplane hangar, we'll launch again, and we'll have 2 of these things. So in case one fails, we can launch the other one, or we can try some other experiments or something. So let's take a look here. Let's see if we got one upgrade point. I'll just quickly toss it in the vehicle assembly building. We'll get that little sounding rocket up and built. So let's see. Oh, we got warp to structures. Come on, hit that warp to complete button there. Can we do anything else? Come on, hit the button. There we go. Now we are constructing our sounding rocket. Pretty basic, but it still takes some time. I think the rocket takes like no time to construct, but it still takes over 5 days. I'm guessing that maybe the Stay Putnik, they're actually hand soldering that thing back together every time? I don't know. They can't just go over to like Best Buy and pick up another Stay Putnik, or they can't just go over the Radio Shack or something. Nope, they gotta build these things by hand, and it takes them about 5 days to do it. Unbelievable. This is something I have to get used to here. I'm not used to waiting for these things to get built. Okay. Fortunately, Kerbal Alarm Clock is there to help us quickly get through this. And it actually takes them 2 minutes to pick up and carry the thing and stick it on the launch pad. Come on, heave ho, get that thing on the launch pad. And there we go. It's going to be pretty basic here. We're just going to send this thing up into the air, see how high, see how far we can go. Because we can't do anything else with it. We can't even recover it. We don't even have parachutes. But here, up we go. And there's that spin stabilizer kicking in. It's a little wobbly to start, but it quickly stabilizes as it picks up speed. Let's see how fast we can go on this first launch. 0.4, 0.5, Mach... Oh, we do not quite get Mach 1. However, we do get our first uncrewed flight, and we get a bunch of milestone contracts done, and we have launched our first vessel. The problem is the first vessel is about to come right back down on top of the Space Center. Uh-oh. And we can't even get any more science. We run out of electric power already because I was silly and I forgot batteries. But as we watch this thing drop down, uh-oh, I hope this thing does not hit the vehicle assembly building. Oh, it's just going to land in between the assembly building and the research buildings. Thank goodness for that. And there we go. It might be a failure in the game's eyes, but to us that was a resounding success. And with the earned contract money and earned science from those in-game milestones, we can begin to research more science to get us more instruments to get us more science. And some folks would take the rocketry route, but I am a fan of aviation, as you may know, so I'm going to start down the aviation track. And there we go. I want to get those milestone contracts quickly though, but I do have enough to upgrade the mission control building, but we still can't take those extra contracts yet. We actually have to construct the upgrade to the mission control building first. But that's okay. We should still be able to build that in enough time before those other contracts expire. And we got all kinds of things in the pipe now. We got all this research. We got a few more upgrade points for unlocking science nodes. We get an extra upgrade point for every science node we upgrade. So I'm going to take a pretty conservative path and do each tier one at a time to maximize the number of upgrade points that we get for Kerbal construction time. Throw a few more points into the vehicle assembly building and the spaceplane hangar. I want to be able to construct 2 vehicles at a time. Here's our second sounding rocket we're beginning to put together. We still do not have additional science instruments yet, but we got batteries. We're going to stick some extra batteries on there, and I'm going to put them near the top of the rocket, make the heaviest part of the rocket near the top of the rocket. Hopefully that'll help keep it more stable. There we go. And I'm not going to use the fancy new wings yet. We'll go back to our basic fin and our spin stabilization. Nothing wrong with that to start. Okay, tilt that just ever so slightly. There we go. Now we don't have much else yet, but if we take a look, well, we don't have our barometer yet. We do have our thermometer. We'll stick that on there. We're not going to put this out on the pad yet, though. We're going to wait for that extra research to complete. Now, we don't have any coupling parts. We can't do any stages, but look at what we got here. The small parts, the cubic octagonal strut. And, well, I think you can see where I'm going with this. If you can't see it by now, well, then you need to go watch Kerbal Space Program, because we are going to work on explosive decoupling. If we don't have regular decouplers, well, we'll just get some explosive ones. The cubic octagonal strut is not very heat sensitive, which makes it a very good decoupler for this purpose. A little more spin stabilization there. And since we actually have stages, now we can think about actually staging. We got Kerbal Engineer there to help us sort out how much delta V we can wring out of this little rocket. Not bad, not bad. 1.3 kilometers per second. Not enough to get to space, but at least enough to maybe to get to the upper atmosphere. We'll see. Let's see how far we can take this. Let's do another stage, and we can do maybe another stage, and we can do a set of boosters on the bottom. We ended up with a multi-stage mess. Believe me, it works though. But while we were doing that, they were finished building a Sounder 1 at the spaceplane hangar, and we're about to go out there and launch from the runway. Wait a minute. That's not the runway. How did this thing get out on the launch pad? I put this thing in the spaceplane hangar. Yeah, there it is, spaceplane hangar. Why is it not on the runway? Well, nothing more I can do about it here. Let's see if I can at least bring this thing back into the vehicle assembly building or something. We can store it for later use. Can I do anything? Nope, all I can do is fly or recover. Well then, looks like I've uncovered a bug in Kerbal construction time. I'll have to make sure to exit and then enter the spaceplane hangar if I want to actually build stuff for the runway. Otherwise that would just be cheating. Anyway, we finally completed our basic research and we got the press mat barometer. So we got that, a thermometer, an antenna, and now we switch, we exit and then come back to the spaceplane hangar. We can then load our sounder into the spaceplane hangar to actually put on the runway. And fast forward, we got more and more work to do for our Kerbal engineers. And we've almost got mission control fully upgraded. Come on, seconds to go. Boop, mission controls now upgraded. We can now take 7 contracts, and now we'll take all these progression contracts. There we go. Alright, so, break the sound barrier. That's for a crewed flight. We'll have to get Jebediah Kerbin to fly an aircraft to do that. But the other 2 ones we can do the upper atmosphere uncrewed, and we can do the Kármán line, which is get out of the atmosphere. Plus we've got the story contract for escape the atmosphere, so we'll be able to do multiple contracts at once with this multi-stage sounding rocket. But we didn't get science from the launch pad yet for the barometer, so we'll quickly get that. Every little bit of science is going to help to unlock nodes in the tech tree to not only advance our parts, but also to get build points. We need those build points to upgrade our speed of building these things. And here we go. I deliberately reduced the thrust on that lower stage because we don't want to get too carried away too quickly. We're mostly going to get this up to the out of the lower atmosphere, and then we can stage away the rest of it. There's our spin stabilization, still a little wobbly to start, but it's beginning to center now. There we go. We are well on our way. We're just trying to get to the upper atmosphere here because we want to get some upper atmosphere science, and we want to get an upper atmosphere uncrewed launch. There's our second stage, and that cubic octagonal strut being exploded by the heat from the exhaust from that next stage. Explosive decoupling is the best decoupling to start with, at least. Next stage. We're already pretty close to the upper atmosphere, and we're climbing. We're hitting Mach 1.3 and going faster. 1.4, 1.5. We are well past the sound barrier on this uncrewed rocket. When we hit the upper atmosphere, the last stage, when we hit the upper atmosphere, we'll get some upper atmosphere science and we'll transmit it back. There we go. Transmit, transmit. Oh, we're starting to get a little unstable here. Hopefully we don't explode. Oh, there we go. That was pretty quick, wasn't it? Good thing we didn't get too fast there. We were able to slow down in time without blowing up this poor probe. At least we got our upper atmosphere science, so we are good for this launch. We've also completed the upper atmosphere uncrewed launch milestone. The only thing is, this thing doesn't look like it's slowing down any. How high is this thing gonna go? Uh-oh. 100... We're gonna reach space on this launch. My goodness. Well, that was completely unexpected. I didn't expect this thing to get this high. I mean, I was go high, but 119 kilometers. Very impressive. There we go. Stock milestones, upper atmosphere. And also, we have just crossed the boundary. We crossed the Kármán line. We are in space. Ta-da! We got the stock contract, we got the milestone contract. We don't have any energy to do any space science though, but that's okay. We have another launch waiting from the spaceplane hangar, and then we'll be able to take care of this. In the meantime, it's time to say goodbye to this probe. Bye-bye, Stay Put, Nick. And there we go. With the science that we earned, though, we can continue to build our space program. We're getting build points, we're getting nodes upgraded, we're getting some basic parts, and we have enough for 2 of the next tier nodes as well. I looked at gadgets thinking, well, let's get more science. We need more parts that'll get us more science. So we get the mystery goo container there. There we go. And I looked at survivability, and I thought early aviation. I know I like my flying, but these early aircraft can be pretty rickety, so I go instead for survivability. There we go. That way we can bring Jeb back if we need to. In the meantime, we've got our high sounder built in the spaceplane hangar actually being rolled out to the runway this time and not onto the launch pad. We'll set that in case we run out of electric charge. We'll get all the science we can. Now we haven't gotten runway science yet, so let's just get that quickly. Transmit. That's all we can do right now is transmit. We can't recover. Okay, and the press map barometer. There we go. Get those instruments ready for use once we launch this thing. We already know this thing can go to space, so we are going to take this thing up to space and we are going to get some low space science. 3, 2, 1, and there we go. There we go, it's going to do that little spin. It's going to wobble a little bit, but hopefully it shorts out. There we go. We got the spin in there. It's a little wobbly, but that's beginning to sort itself out as it gets faster. Now, we've seen this thing already once, so we know it's pretty safe. Well, as safe as far as uncrewed rockets go, but hey, we're going to be able to get to space on this. There we go. Stage 2. We've got Delta V for days. We'll quickly cut to the upper atmosphere where we expend all the remaining stages. And we'll get this thing to space. Look at that. It was like day 20 and we got 2 probes into space. My competitors are very much at this stage now as well at day 20, but I'd like to think I'm doing it in style with cheaper parts. And there we go, we've got 14 science from low space. And even a little bit of extra low flight temperature scanning. Every little bit helps. A pretty busy first week or first couple weeks. We're going to take that suborbital trajectory one and we're going to make an attempt to launch something into orbit. I'm also going to do some part tests, and I'm going to look for some survey contracts that Jeb can do while we try to break the sound barrier. There's only one here we can do there. We'll take the below 2100 meters. There we go. Now we got enough here to unlock one more node. I thought about early aviation to get that fairing, but I thought, you know, we need smarter probes, so we'll go for this to get the Probodobodyne QBE, which at least has stability control. But we'll take a look at that in a future episode. Until then, I'm not Manly. Fly safe.